we've got Nathan here is going to talk about consumer index and confidence levels. And
Yeah, because I think that is something that not enough people really pay attention to, and that can tell us a lot about what are really people thinking. Because we were talking, we can throw all the facts in front of somebody and say, here's what's happening, but it's emotion drives markets, right? Emotion drives purchases. I mean, emotion has a lot to do with it. So the consumer confidence survey is really something that is like a barometer of where things are at and where things might go, because the data reflects what the prevailing business conditions are and likely developments for the months ahead. So when you look at these reports, it details consumers' attitudes, their buying intentions, their vacation plans, consumer, expectations for inflation, all of that stuff rolled up into a big ball of how do I feel? How does this make me feel? So when you look at the chart, clearly it fell off big time in early 2020. Why? COVID, right? I mean, who's going to feel great about suddenly just not being able to go anywhere, right? So then after, COVID started to kind of become more of a past thing, if you will. I understand it's still with us, but not in the same way. Then it started to make some really sharp gains, some real sharp improvements through 2021. Well, how did you do in 2021, Philip?
it was off the hook.
Yeah, same thing with us, right? I mean, we're just taking orders, writing loans, boom, 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 boom. So again, that consumer confidence reflected in what we were seeing as results on our end. So again, good year for housing. Well, it started to fall off again in 2022. Well, what happened in 2022 after all those sharp increases in prices? Things started to go wrong, right? Yep. So again, we saw the emotion change. Consumer confidence said, I don't like this. And then that's when we started seeing that fall. But now in about the fall of 2022, things are starting to level out. And what have we kind of seen over the last several months? Kind of like this, I'm not really sure whether, things are okay or things are bad or things are okay. It's kind of showing where the consumer confidence is starting to kind of level out. And that's what you want. You don't want sharp gains. You don't want sharp drops. You want a modest amount of emotion. And that allows the economy to kind of balance itself out. So, again, I think things are beginning to really steady up, and that's what we're kind of seeing right now. We'll probably have, like you had mentioned, about 30 or 60 days. It's not going to probably, bode too well.
I think you're going to see a relaxing of the pendings, because this will kind of, you're not going to see the results of what happens today for 30, 60 days from now. And so when you got a spike in interest rates and you've got a spike in inflation, it's going to cause a pause. Any pause is an interruption in the pipeline. Right. Yeah. And so that interruption is like a water faucet. You turn it off, then you on a hose, and then you turn it on. The water still comes out fine for a little while. And then all of a sudden there's a hiccup and it slows down, and then it picks back up again. And we're going to see that. We're going to see a little slowdown, and then it'll pick back up again. So, we're just kind of given that instant that's the reality of how the markets work. So it's not a doom and gloom. It's just an accurate portrayal of what's going to happen in the market and what we're seeing. And if I look at some specs that I talked about yesterday out there, and these are real-time specs that I pulled for my marketing out in the marketplace yesterday, we're still seeing the market of homes on the market in our local area still try to catch up to the buyers, right? So 47% of the homes on the market are still decreasing in price, which means they're still being reduced to try to get to what the customers want to buy and come up with that value proposition, right? So 3 things sell a home: location, condition, and price. So if you assume that you got a great location and you're trying to get that price and that condition to kind of match up so that people go. So 47%, that's half of the inventory, is still being reduced. Yeah. And that's in both zip codes, the 33955 and the 33950. So that's a reality. The other thing that we're seeing, and you're getting back to a normal market, they're on the market longer. Now, not the new listing. The new listings are still selling in that 7 to 17 days. So the new ones, the fresh stuff, is kind of moving out because that's being priced a little bit better.
Right.
But the older inventory is sitting on the market about 89 days or more. And the bigger the price, the longer it's on the market.
Sure.
So those are just the reality that's out there. Most people aren't talking about that. Right, so the consumers are not hearing this data. They're either thinking that it's doom and gloom, or they're only hearing this other subset that, Johnny's stuff just sold in 2 days, and that the market's like super hot, and neither of those two are true, right?
Right.
So,
somewhere in between.
So it's somewhere in between, and we're going to have these little ebbs and ups and downs right now because geopolitically we're out to lunch. We've got toxic waste on one side. We've got a war that we don't know what's happening. We've got billions of dollars, going one way. We've got Redfin just announced $2.3 trillion of loss in the housing market, 2 days ago. I mean, where is that coming from, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, and I think all that is exactly where the consumer confidence survey, where that's what you're seeing. You're
right.
like, one day you wake up feeling pretty good about where things are going. The next day you wake up going, I'm not sure I feel that way today. But yeah, exactly. And I think there's still a fair amount of people that are sitting on the sideline thinking there's going to be this big drop that there is not going to be. And
we're there. We're at a really good point. And like I said, we're going to start to see that decrease number start to get less and less and less. And we're going to then be in that point where we're going to start to see homes that are going to be selling at 97% of ask. And we're going to be back to the normal, cycle of where we are. And
let me ask you this, because I think I made a comment. If prices were back at end of 2021 and rates were 1% lower, you think that would make the market move pretty quickly?
I think it'll move again. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's moving right now. Again, we got the cash buyers going. It's a matter of can we pull in, the other buyers. Again, we still have an inventory issue. That's the problem.
Right.
And the inventory issue is because we've got so many people out there with those 2.7 and 3% loans. They're not selling.
No.
And if they do, call me. I'd like to buy. I'd like to assume your mortgage.
Speaking of that, let's give everybody some contact information one more time. Philip?
Absolutely. You want to get in touch with Jennifer and Philip at mydigitallisting.com. Our office number is 941-219-5659. Jennifer, 585-300-9483. Philip, 603-479-1259. Thank you. Nathan?
239-898-8841. Call me anytime.